Hi, Mickey Barfield with the Polyhedral Knights, here for our September talk, GM tips, and today we're going to be talking about scenes, particularly the opening scenes, or even changes of scenes. Now, this could be a scene that you're starting off for a brand new campaign. That's going to be a big thing. Or it could be your weekly session game, or however often you play. Or it could be starting a campaign that you have put on hiatus for a long time and you're bringing back everyone into it. Now, the first and the third one, the opening scene for a brand new campaign, and one that's been on a long hiatus, you're not going to do that often. But your weekly game, or again, however often you play the game, that one you're going to do more frequently. And that one's kind of more important, very critical. So some things you can do to help out with that. Now keep in mind, this is not just for the players, but it's also for you as a GM. Sometimes you may not really be up for wanting to run the game, or maybe just not really quite in that mood or mindset. And your players might have the same situation there. So what you want to do is you want to try and set that scene. But before you do that, let's discuss what I do. Typically, I see a game session like a TV episode. And TV episodes have certain formats they do. And these are things that are well established and really, I'm sure, actually help out you as a viewer get into it as well and actually kind of get caught up. One of those things is the recap. Every episode on a series, they always do a little recap usually beforehand, like previously on, blah, blah, blah. So you want to try and do something like that. Now, you could do that as a GM and say, hey, here's our recap. And a lot of ones do that, but personally, I'm evil. I like to make my players do it themselves. So I'll ask somebody if they want to recap. And usually I might have one person who's a pretty good note taker and won't want to do that. And so when they do that, I listen and try and make sure they got all the points there. And other people sometimes might chime in and kind of give them their feedback of, okay, yeah, but what about this guy here? He did this. So those are really good. And you might have players who may not want to do that, and that's okay. What you could do if you want to bait them on that, which I do sometimes, I might offer extra experience points if they actually can do a really good recap to recover. If they can recap what has happened before. So once you get that, what you want to do is you want to do what they call an establishing shot. Now usually for TV show, it's like a picture of, or film of the area that it's going to be at. Like if it's at some sort of big tall mountain, with lots of snow around there, they left off there. You might describe how it looks and go into details about the snowy peaks and the rocks and hardly any vegetation. Might even describe the smell or the hearing of the wind blowing around. And these are things that, with the establishing shot, yes, you can describe it, but you want to describe not just visual, but you want to describe the senses, everything. By doing that, it helps draw not just yourself into the scene, but your players in there as well. Now, some of them might be just listening to the kind of cliche things they are expecting to hear for an establishing shot. I like to flip the script a little bit. Once I do my opening description of the establishing shot and opening the scene up with that, I go around the table and I'll ask the players, okay, what is your character sensing, thinking, feeling, things like that? Now when I say sensing, I'm talking about like the senses, sight, sound, smell, maybe even taste or touch. And I have them do that, and I have them kind of describe what their character is thinking or feeling about how they're coming into this moment. So when they do this, they're actually really wakening themselves up and waking their character up and immersing themselves in that scene right there and then. And I noticed by doing that, the players, they seem to really kind of come more alive and really kind of jump into it and take the ball and start running with it. And that's what you want to do, because if it takes, like, say, an hour them to kind of get into it, or just an obligatory combat for Larry over here to wake up and just hack at something before he pays attention, this here will kind of make them kind of get off their butt and actually do something and be part of the story. Remember, this is not just a story that you're telling. This is a story that you all are telling together. And by telling that story all together, it matters. And the opening scene should matter as well. They should help build that a little bit, that tension or that thought, that feeling that they're really going through for this. So that's just for the opening bit. Now, whenever you change your scene, if you're going somewhere else or somewhere new and different, you can try and do the same thing there as well too. Now, of course, as a GM, you're going to be describing what's going on, where they're at, and all those kinds of things. If you do that, that'll be really nice too. If you really feel the characters need to be kind of drawn into that new scene, you can have them do this as well. I don't do that too often. Sometimes I do. It depends on the situation. So play it by ear. The other thing is too, if there's other NPCs involved in this opening or change of scenes, you might want to describe them. Not just describe how they look, but maybe their demeanor, their mannerisms, body language, anything. Hell, it could even be a smell about them. You know, maybe Bob over here hasn't showered in a few days and it's kind of smelling a little bit there. That can actually make a unique difference and make these NPCs stand out more to them. So whenever you're doing this actually is a chance for your players to be more in tune to the story, and that's really important. Less likely that they'll be on this damn thing, and more that they're going to be engaged in the story that you're telling and they're telling together. So remind them this is all of y'all's story. So let's go back to the opening of a brand new campaign, game, whatever. This can really matter a lot to people. You want to make a good at first impression. And it doesn't mean you have to have the whole world built out and everything, okay? I mean, I know some people like to do the massive world building thing, but really, as long as you have a good skeleton and some meat on the bones, you can add more bits to it as you come along. And really kind of ask your players to help develop some things too. That can be kind of fun. But we'll get more into world building another time. What we're talking about here is opening scene. So for the opening scene, sometimes what you want to do for a brand new campaign, you want to make sure there's some sort of statement or something that they have to know about, okay? And you don't want to do anything too long, but enough where it gives them the real meat of the setting, the campaign's focus, what they know, backstory type stuff. So write something up like that. And if you do, make sure it's not too long, like I said, but I like to make sure, I like to have the players maybe read what I've written out. And rather than have one person read all of it, it can be kind of old, you can break it up in different sections. Okay, and this guy over here is going to read this gal over here is going to read this part, this guy over here is going to read this part. You get where I'm going with that. So this way, they're reading all the parts of this. They're hearing it. They're actually speaking it. So they're more likely to be paying attention a little bit on there. And it kind of gives you a chance to kind of listen for how they're reacting to these bits. All right. Also, too, handouts of key NPCs that they might know. Now, obviously, they didn't just wake up all of a sudden, I'm brand new. This world is new to me. No, their character's been living in this world. So who do they know? Usually I'll have them write up some NPCs that they might know and their backstory or whatnot, and I'll try and ask some questions more about them. And if I need to embellish a little bit more, I'll try and do that on them, or make up some other characters that might be somebody they work with or associated with or have come across or heard of. So when you're introducing this new bit, you also want to try and do that. Now, they don't have to be a whole lot of NPCs. You give them too many, they're going to forget it. I mean, it's just too many cast of characters. My recommendation is when you're rolling out new characters, NPCs that might be prevalent, anywhere between 1 and 3, that's it. Keep it small. And then you can introduce more as more adventures pop up. Now, if you're coming back into a game that's been on a long hiatus, you want a detailed recap. So as a GM, you want to try and pour over your notes from the previous season, if you want to call it that, like a TV show. Go over that and make your points of what happened, certain things with certain characters, and this way when they come back into it, you can read over it or have them read over it, and this way you guys can relive all that bit there. So that's my thing about opening scenes. I don't want to be too long and bore you, but I figured it was enough to kind of give you some tips that I use. These might be things you already use, and if so, great. And if so, let me know how they work for you. If there's something different you do, I might want to learn something from you. So give me your feedback. I'd like to hear that. And just, again, remember, this is a story that not just you, the GM, are telling, but your players, and help remind them of that. And make sure they know that. This way they feel like they have a vested interest in it, more than just, did my character survive? How much experience points do I have? They're storytellers too. Remind them of that. So, hope this helped out. Thank you again for your support. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you again soon.